Hello and welcome into Zach's Picks. I'm Zach McCullough, back for another week of college football. Last week was a good week, had a lot of good games. I went 5-3. This week should have better matchups because all the SEC teams are playing this week. No more bye weeks for the rest of the season. First game we have is Samford traveling to take on Florida. There's no line for this one. And Florida, they last week got demolished by South Carolina. And South Carolina's not that good. Florida, they had a flu outbreak on the team. That covers some of it, but still, 40-17 to South Carolina. That's rough. Florida is just not where they need to be. Dan Mullen's right now coaching to save his job. I think it'll take an easy opponent to get them back in rhythm, and that's what they have here in the Bulldogs. I think Samford will probably stick around for a little while here, but in the end, Florida has just got them outmanned, and they'll run away with it. But I really want you to watch Florida. I don't think they'll play that well. Like I said, they need another week to bounce back from the humiliating loss. Keep an eye on that. Next week, I think they'll be playing a lot better. Next game, we have New Mexico State traveling to take on Alabama. Last week, Alabama pulled it out in the end. LSU couldn't come up with a Hail Mary. That gave Alabama the victory. But Alabama, the storyline last week was 6 yards rushing. Only 6 yards? That's not going to cut it. Now, New Mexico State's not going to hold them to 6 yards rushing. If anything, Alabama might hold New Mexico State to 6 yards rushing because that's what's keeping Alabama in games, their defense. They don't have the best defense in the SEC. That belongs to Georgia, but they have the second best. And when you're second to Georgia, that ain't bad. Alabama, their defense led by Will Anderson, who might be a Heisman finalist, we don't know. This is going to be a problem for everyone coming into for everybody else who's playing them. So keep an eye on that. Alabama, 51.5-point favorites. That's just too high. I think Alabama, they'll play slow for a little while, sluggish for maybe the first 6-7 minutes of the football game before they eventually run away with it. I think they'll start putting in their subs at halftime, and that's why they won't get to 51.5. So they don't cover, but they do win, and convincingly. Next, we have Kentucky traveling to take on Vanderbilt. Kentucky's a 21.5-point favorite in this one. Vanderbilt's just not playing good football. And Kentucky's real up and down. One week they're going to look like they can beat anyone. The next week anyone can beat them. I think after a loss last week, Kentucky's going to rebound. They're going to come out, play solid, and they should demolish Vanderbilt. Next game is South Carolina traveling to take on Missouri in the other Columbia. Missouri's a 1-point favorite, and the Tigers, they've been up and down. They haven't looked impressive at times. At times, they've looked decent, if not good. So the question is, which Missouri team do you get? But also, what about South Carolina? They absolutely demolished Florida last week. But was that just Florida not playing well or South Carolina playing very well? I think it was Florida not playing well. So I think South Carolina, they're riding that high. They're coming on a road game, tough environment in Missouri. I think they're not going to be ready for this one, and I think Missouri's going to keep it low scoring, and will end up pulling it away. Next, we've got Arkansas, who's 2.5-point favorites over LSU. Traveling to Baton Rouge is tough for anybody. And Arkansas, they're up and down. They've had more ups than downs, but still, they're not as good as they need to be. And Arkansas, their main power is running. They run the ball. And LSU stopped Alabama's run last week completely. Arkansas is a 2.5-point favorite, but this is a 6:30 kickoff in Death Valley. There's no way Arkansas is going to pull this out. LSU is going to come out there. They're playing for their coach. They want to send him out strong. So LSU comes off and gets the upset victory. Next, we've got the number 1 team in all of the land, Georgia, traveling to Knoxville to take on the Volunteers of Tennessee. Georgia, a 20.5-point favorite. And like I said earlier, Georgia, best defense in America. But Tennessee's offense is pretty good. They can keep themselves in games. So I think it should be a pretty good game for a while. But in the end, Georgia's just going to hit Tennessee, keep pounding them, and eventually Georgia's going to run away with it. 20.5-point spread. Don't think they'll score enough to cover, but it should be a 17-point game. Next, you've got a sneaky good matchup. That's Texas A&M traveling to Oxford to take on Ole Miss. A&M's a 3-point favorite, and if this was at College Station, I would have Texas A&M no problem. But this is at the Grove in Ole Miss, so I think it should be a pretty good game. But Texas A&M's playing for the SEC West. All they have to do is win out, and have Alabama lose once more, and they're in Atlanta. So I think they're going to come out, play well. Should be a good back-and-forth game, but Texas A&M will end up pulling it out in the end. Ole Miss will find a way to shoot themselves in the foot, which they always have, whether with regular turnovers or turnovers on down. I think Texas A&M is going to be able to come in late and pull this one out. Final game is a good-looking matchup. It's Mississippi State traveling to take on Auburn. Auburn's a 5.5-point favorite. And Auburn, they're in a bit of a hole. They're third place in the SEC West. They need Texas A&M to lose to Ole Miss or lose just another random game on their schedule, which I think could be Ole Miss. They have Prairie View A&M next week. A&M's not going to lose that game. But then there's LSU and A&M. That's going to be a game that Auburn's going to hope LSU pulls out. And then Auburn's got to win out. If Auburn wins out and Texas A&M loses one more game, Auburn is in the SEC West Championship. They're traveling to Atlanta to take on Georgia, who has already clinched the SEC East. So I think Auburn, it's at Jordan-Hare. Auburn's going to come in there, play well. They're fighting hard, and they should beat Mississippi State pretty easily. Auburn, like I said, 5.5-point favorites. They should cover. That's all the games I have for you this week. Should be an excellent week of football. And I want to thank the Daily Mountain Eagle for hosting me. Thanks to the Eagle for all they do. I really appreciate it, and have a good week. God bless.